Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 427. Phil Graham here. I hope you're doing amazing. I've got a great episode for you guys today. I'm going to be talking about why scaling your ads can many times kill your Facebook and Instagram ads and what you can do instead. So here's something that's really common. Let's say you finally get an ad that crushes it. It's finally working and you want to scale it. So you raise the budget, but instead of getting more results and better results, the performance drops. A lot of times it actually plummets like a rock into the ocean. And then you end up losing money. And that was from a winning ad. Why does this happen? And how can you scale without killing your best ads? Scaling isn't just about spending more, although that can be part of it. It's about strategically multiplying exactly what's working and going about it in a different way. And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's quick episode. I hope you guys are doing well. It is exactly the middle of July, July 15th, and before you know it, the holidays are going to be here. We're not that far off, you guys. This is an amazing time to be running ads. It's the perfect time to be planting seeds now for what's going to happen in a few months once we hit holiday season. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of that if you can. Now, before we jump in, if you guys are looking for some help with your ads, maybe you just want somebody to do it all for you, or maybe you want to learn and get better at this stuff through coaching and consulting one-on-one. I feel like that's the best way in the world to learn this stuff. For either of those things, you just go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital and let's connect. As usual, I want to keep this episode short, sweet, full of value, and very actionable. Let's talk about number one, why scaling typically goes wrong. This is so common with so many advertisers, and there's a lot of reasons why it could go wrong and cause you to lose money. One of the main reasons, and I think this is going to be probably the biggest thing that can affect people negatively, is that when you're scaling an ad, you are usually, without knowing it, scaling an unproven ad because there was too many variables in that ad. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have an ad that's working right now. If your life depended on it, could you tell me exactly why it's working? There should be one thing or a combination of a couple things together that makes that ad work. Maybe it's the video or the image. Maybe it's the ad copy, or maybe it's the specific audience. How do you know? Unless you've tested all those individual things together and separate, you don't know, and most people don't know. So when they have an ad that's working and they scale and lose money, they don't realize they're making a big mistake in a lot of situations. Here's a great example. Let's say you've got an ad and you've got a big audience or even an interest audience where there's like 10 different interests, and it's doing really well. Well, how do you know Facebook and Instagram aren't just sending the ad to one or two of those specific interest categories, and maybe that's getting the bulk of the budget, and that's why it's working. And maybe the other 8 are losing money, but they're not getting much reach. And then you go and spend more money, and it starts spreading it out to the other interests, and then it starts just tanking. Well, that's not set up for success, is it? So if you're scaling an unproven ad, meaning you don't know exactly what made it work and you weren't able to replicate that time and time again, then you just may have big problems when you scale. And that's one reason why scaling goes wrong. The second reason why scaling can go wrong and cost you money is that CPMs can sometimes increase if either the engagement or the relevance drops. So if your ad is getting some good engagement and it's really relevant to a specific audience, but then you expand it to people that maybe aren't so relevant, not always, but it may affect your CPM and end up costing you money. So that's something that can happen. And then the third thing is that ad fatigue can absolutely set in much quicker when there's more ad spend. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it can make all the difference. So those are things you really have to watch out for. I would say the first one, though, what are you really scaling? Do you really know exactly what made it work? That's the most common issue people have. And there's probably a lot of people that lose a lot of money because of it. So, with that being said, let's talk about 3 smart ways to scale your Facebook and Instagram ads. Number 1, there's what I would say is vertical or budget scaling. You could increase your budget slowly every, let's say, 3 to 4 days. So I would say maybe increase 20%, 25%, somewhere around there. Instead of increasing 100%, going from, let's say, 50 a day to 100, go from 50 a day to 60 a day. And then from 60 to 70 or 75, and then work your way up to 100 in increments of 3 to 4 or 5 days, and see how that goes, and then watch and monitor performance. Now, again, if you're still making that first mistake, though, if you're scaling an unproven ad, then no amount of scaling is probably going to work. So, first and foremost, if you have an ad that's working, you should absolutely be testing to find out why it's working before you scale. Once you know why, then you can properly scale it. So make sure you're scaling something that you know exactly what made it work. Then you can do that vertical scaling where you're increasing that budget slowly every few days and monitoring performance. The second thing you can do is horizontal scaling. Essentially, what you can do is, let's say you've got an ad that's doing really well and you've already tested it and you know it's because it's the ad specifically. Then what you can do is, if you've got it going to a certain audience, keep that running, but then duplicate the ad set and send that exact same ad to a new audience, or sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 different new audiences. So if you're running like an Advantage Plus campaign, then test that same ad to an interest audience, test it to a lookalike, obviously test it to retargeting and see how it does. Just recently, I had a client where we had an ad that was crushing it to a big broad audience, and I created a segmented interest audience, which a lot of people say you shouldn't do anymore. Well, that's BS. This segmented interest audience actually crushed it and did a lot better than the Advantage Plus broad audience. We never would have known that had we not tested it. So that's a great way to horizontally scale. But again, you only want to do that when you know what's working and why. The third thing you can do for scaling is creative scaling. So let's say you've got a creative that's working really well, maybe an image or a video. Maybe it's your ad copy and it's on a specific ad angle. You've got a specific hook. And let's say you've tested other angles and other hooks, and you've got one in particular that just seems to be winning a lot more and a lot better. Then what I recommend you guys do is you stick with that same hook. You stick with that same angle, but you change the message a little bit. You change the approach so that you're essentially saying similar things in a different way to connect with different people, because it's a proven message. It's a proven hook. The key here is using your proven hook that you know is working and either going into more depth with that same hook or just saying it in a different way and then scaling it out to more audiences. And then, of course, using data to test and see what's working and what's not. So above all, when you're doing this, you want to test just one variation at a time between every 2 ads so that you know what's working and what's not working. And then when you know, you can then fix what doesn't work and scale the crap out of what does work based off of knowledge and data, not guessing, not randomness like most people do. And that is something that could potentially give you guys an edge when it comes to this stuff. So bottom line here, you guys, don't fall for the trap of just raising the budget and that's it. Do it right. Do it strategically and make sure that you're using data throughout this whole process when you scale. And as always, just a reminder, it's always important to point out that every business is unique. Results can vary. There's no guaranteed outcomes. So always keep that in mind. I hope that was helpful. Episode 427 is in the books. Thank you guys so much for being here. As usual, I'll have another great one for you next week, next Tuesday. If you want to get in touch, philgrahamdigital.com is the website, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital, and I'll talk to you on next week's episode. Have a great week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.